Congratulations. Okay, so I guess if you wanted to start out by telling me what WIALD's all about, maybe like how it got started and
Sure.
the main purpose of WIALD and that kind of thing.
So WILD is an acronym, and it stands for Women in Aerospace for Leadership and Development. And we started the group back in the fall of 2009, my first semester here at UT, basically just to make an attempt to help recruit and retain women in our aerospace department. The percentage of women has been really low historically, usually around 10%. Some years it's been lower, some years it's been a little bit higher. But since we started WILD, we've been able to bring it up to 12 or 13% usually. And this year, our freshman class of women is the largest it's ever been. So it's really exciting.
That's really
I think
awesome.
what we're doing is working. So we work to reach out to both high school students who are interested in aerospace, but then also once we have students already here, we work to give them opportunities to build hands-on experience and also gain leadership experience. We do this through hands-on aerospace-themed projects each semester or each year. So far we've done mostly payloads for rockets, but they've all been really successful, and most of the women who've participated in these projects have gone on to get internships in industry, and it's been really successful.
That's really cool. Were you involved since 2009 then when it got started? Have you been president the whole time?
No, not at all. No. I started out as historian when I was a freshman, but I kind of actively built up my leadership roles. I've been an officer all along, but I've also been a leader in the project side of things. So we break down our projects into different teams to focus on different components for each project, and I've been a team lead on each project. So I was historian one year, and then the next year I was secretary, and then I am now president. So.
I guess if you could just kind of tell a little more about what exactly the aerospace engineering, that specific area of engineering focuses on.
Sure. So our degree plan basically breaks down once you get to your junior year into either atmospheric or space. And so people have their first 2 years to kind of take all the basic courses and figure out where their passion or interests really lie. And then you split off and you get really specific into either airplanes and stuff that flies in the atmosphere or spacecraft. Anything from satellites to rockets, launch vehicles, anything that goes into space, basically.
Cool.
So that's what aerospace is all about.
Awesome. What has your feedback from like family and friends and peers been about your decision to be an engineering major, and kind of how's your journey been through that?
I'm really fortunate to have very supportive friends and family. I was never discouraged when I decided I wanted to go into engineering. I do, however, know a lot of women who basically fought against their family in order to study aerospace engineering. I know people who turned down, or their parents basically just wouldn't give them any money to study engineering, but they'd pay for them to study business or something liberal arts. So I do know a lot of people that really have struggled, or that there's some kind of stigma where it's not an appropriate field for women to be in. But I'm very fortunate that I haven't had that issue.
That's really awesome. Do you have any idea of like why it would be a problem for why there's negative feedback?
It is difficult. I mean, especially in aerospace, that percentage of women is really low across the board at any company.
Yeah.
I've interned at Lockheed Martin, NASA, and SpaceX, and at all three places, women were few and far between. So it's difficult. I mean, it's definitely getting better with time, but there are a lot of places where it may be difficult for a woman to get a position as an engineer, or say she does get a position. I've also met many women from industry who felt like they were really just there to be like a woman. It's their job. Like they're filling a position, but they're filling some quota that the company needs to fill, or like they don't really feel like they're as appreciated or their work gets as much recognition as men. And so I think that's terrible, and I really hope that it'll get better in the future. And I think it will. I'm confident that it will.
Let's see. What are you planning on doing after you complete your undergraduate degree, if you know?
So I hope to go straight to industry. I'm interested in getting a graduate degree, but I would like to find a career path first and not make myself too specific with a higher education degree. And if the career path that I follow requires me to go back and get a higher education degree, then I would hope that a lot of companies generally will pay for you to go back to school if they need you to get a master's or a PhD. So hopefully I can find a company that'll be willing to send me back to school.
Be nice. Cool. What are some of your responsibilities for being president of WIALD?
Okay, so I actually act as project manager for our hands-on project and basically systems engineer. So I'm responsible for making sure that the entire project goes on and follows through the engineering process from the research and design phase all the way through building and testing and ultimately launching or flying or whatever we do at the end of the project. So that entails holding all the meetings. We have weekly meetings. We also require that our subgroups have meetings on a weekly basis. And I organize all the meetings and all the events. We also have we have female guest speakers come in to kind of be motivational for our students. So I reach out to alumni and all sorts of things.
Cool. The idea kind of behind this whole blog was to have like role models for women coming into any field. They may feel discouraged and see someone that's doing it would be really cool. Do you kind of believe that too? Like, do you think that's a way to help?
Absolutely. Part of another huge part of what WIALD is about is just building a community for the women in aerospace. And before WIALD was around, we would maybe see each other in our classes every once in a while, or notice that there's other girls around, but not really. We'd make friends, but once we started this group, it kind of started building on the fact that we had upperclassmen to look up to, and we now have this awesome foundation where underclassmen can come in and they automatically have someone to look up to, a role model to help with anything, ask questions, scheduling, homework, basically everything. So I think it's good to have role models.
So, did you say kind of like right now is the number of women in engineering and like STEM, is that still decreasing, or do you think that's increasing or kind of fluctuating throughout the years?
I think it's definitely fluctuating. It's hard to look just from year to year to see. You kind of have to stand back and look at several years to see any kind of solid trend. But there are a lot of efforts going on to recruit and retain women. We started our group back in 2009, and since then, I think there's been 6 or 7 other very similar women in engineering groups started for all the different disciplines. And we now have a full women's leadership collaborative between all these organizations and through the Women in Engineering program. So it's definitely rising, I think, steadily, but not without a lot of effort from a lot of people.
How do you go about recruiting people from high school?
So there's a lot of activities that the Women in Engineering program puts on, like Introduce a Girl to Engineering and You at UT. There's all sorts of programs where they will reach out to high school students, usually women, and have them come to UT and do activities and tour campus and all that kind of stuff. And so we have that opportunity to reach out to students, but we've also gotten lists of any of the women applicants that we've had, and we reach out to them personally. We break up the list every year, and all the women in WIALD write letters to all the prospective female aerospace students. So we try to create a personal connection from the very beginning to try and make them feel like they have some place that they can come and feel welcome.
That's really cool. Do you think like negative stereotypes about women in engineering, maybe like women are bad at like math or bad at science or something like that, like do you think that kind of influences why there are so few women in science, or do you think that may be the other way around, or like?
I'd say I'd hope that there's not stereotypes like that, but I know there are. For me, I feel like it's more of a stigma that it's so overrun and not overrun, but dominated by men that it's difficult for women to get into engineering and to, once they're here, to feel like they belong, or they often feel insuperior or looked down upon because they're a woman, or they are a woman.
Right.
I know it's difficult in classes, or like if we have group assignments or something, all the guys will buddy up and like nobody wants to pick the girl, and I don't know. I think that's all false, because it's actually definitely been shown through research that women are better leaders ultimately than men, and that women in engineering specifically are very productive and helpful, and ultimately make it a better environment to have women and not just men. So
Definitely believe that. How do you encourage women to stay involved in engineering and keep pursuing their goals?
it's tough. There's always that time when, a girl will come in and just feel like she's ready to give up because it's gotten too hard, or she doesn't see the point. And it's really important just to help everyone stay focused on their goals and their future, and reinforce the fact that what they're doing is really hard, and it's awesome that they're succeeding at it. And maybe you're not doing so well right now in one class or something, but stick with it, and the rewards are definitely worth all the pain.
What are some maybe upcoming things y'all are planning, or popular programs y'all have had in the past?
So we don't really there are multiple women in engineering groups that basically exist as a social organization that hold events and that type of thing. But since we're so project-based, we don't really have many events. We did have a guest speaker last week. That was really exciting. And we will probably have a few more guest speakers throughout the semester, but we don't have any scheduled yet. So right now our main focus is really just our project that we're working on for this semester. And
What project are you working on this semester?
so it's actually really interesting. We're working to help our department this year. It's a little different than what we've done in the past, but we're basically beta testing a possible hands-on project course that our freshmen would take as they come in. So we're modeling a course after CU Boulder, and their freshmen in aerospace basically come in and take this hands-on project course where they get to create a small payload for a balloon, a weather balloon, and they're called balloon sets. And basically it allows the student to completely design like an entire space system and bring it to a very near space environment. Usually these balloons reach an altitude of about 100,000 feet, which is actually like the point at which you can look up and you see black in space above you, and below is still blue, but you can actually see the whole curvature of the Earth, which is really exciting.
Wow.
So hopefully by the end of this project we'll have sent 4 or 5 cameras up to that altitude and be able to take several pictures of the curvature of the Earth, which would be really cool. But the end goal is to work out the kinks and make it to where this project can be simple enough and laid out enough to where we can present it to groups of freshman students and have them build one of these payloads for these balloon satellites in the course of a semester, and have them learn the basic fundamentals of systems engineering and the entire engineering process, and get a good intro to what aerospace really is about.
That sounds really interesting. like to do that. I don't really
Well, you
understand it fully. How do you, because WIALD obviously is for leadership and development, how do you specifically like work towards leadership and work towards development?
So in addition to the leadership roles that our members can gain through our projects, we also try to do a lot of leadership building activities. In the past, we've gone on leadership retreats where we'll go out and have basically lots of, like a day full of activities that build leadership. And we've also have plans to do a ropes course and other leadership building activities to get to know each other and to build trust and learn about what it is to be a leader. So.
Cool. What about development? Like,
development mostly falls under the developing experience. So with the hands-on projects that we do, that's a lot of really awesome experience that gets to go on a student's resume that other students who don't participate in extracurricular activities or have experience don't really get. So something when you're applying for an internship in engineering that they're always looking for is hands-on experience, and developing a person or hands-on experience is a way to develop a student. So.
How can anybody be in WIALD, or just aerospace engineering majors, or how does that work?
We're open to anyone and everyone, even men. We do have several male members actually, but they're also just seeking hands-on experience, and as long as you support women in engineering and women in aerospace, then you're more than welcome to join us. No technical background is required. We aim to recruit as many freshmen as possible, so we fully expect that they know nothing yet. So anyone could join us and hopefully learn a lot along the way.
Cool. If there's any advice you'd like to give maybe future engineering majors, or anything else you would like to say about your organization?
I'd just say don't ever think that you're not good enough or smart enough to be an engineer. All it takes is a little bit of hard work and dedication, and follow your dreams.